You probably checked it this morning. You will probably check it again before the day is over. And every single time you scroll, you are paying. Not in money, at least not directly. You are paying in something more valuable, the cognitive baseline that determines what you think you need, what you think you deserve, and what you think a normal life looks like. Behavioral economists call this the FOMO economy, and it is one of the most expensive systems ever invented, perfectly engineered to extract wealth from people who do not realize they are spending. In our last video, we explored the bandwidth tax of scarcity. Today, we examine the bandwidth tax of abundance, the strange phenomenon where having too much information about other people makes you poorer. We are going to look at the actual neuroscience and behavioral economics of social media spending, because what is happening in your brain when you open Instagram is far more sophisticated and far more expensive than you realize. Let us start with the foundational research. In 1954, long before smartphones, Stanford psychologist Leon Festinger published social comparison theory, which proposed something radical for its time. People do not evaluate themselves in absolute terms. They evaluate themselves relative to others. Your salary is not high or low. It is high or low compared to your neighbors. Your car is not nice or ordinary. It is nice or ordinary compared to what is parked next to it. Your life is not good or bad. It is good or bad compared to the lives you can see. Festinger's theory had a quiet implication that did not fully matter until the 21st century. The choice of who you compare yourself to determines almost everything about how you feel and what you spend. For most of human history, your comparison set was small, perhaps 50 to 150 people, the size of your village or workplace. Most people lived similarly to you, so comparison was, on average, manageable. Then came social media. The average Instagram user now has access to roughly 200 to 500 carefully curated lives, each presenting only the highlight reel. Your comparison set has not grown by a factor of 3. It has grown by a factor of 10,000, because each of those 200 accounts is itself a curated aggregate of the best moments from dozens of people. You are not comparing yourself to your neighbors anymore. You are comparing yourself to the statistical peak of human optimization displayed to you, frame by frame, on the most personally calibrated content delivery system ever built. This produces what researchers call upward social comparison contamination. A 2018 study at the University of Pennsylvania, led by Dr. Melissa Hunt, randomly assigned college students to either reduce their social media use to 30 minutes per day or continue normal usage. After 3 weeks, the limited group showed significant reductions in loneliness, depression, and crucially, in self-reported financial dissatisfaction. Same income, same actual circumstances, different comparison stream. But the FOMO economy goes deeper than comparison. It exploits a second, more bizarre psychological vulnerability that researchers Donald Horton and Richard Wohl identified back in 1956, decades before the Internet. They called it the parasocial relationship. A parasocial relationship is a one-sided emotional bond, where one person feels genuine intimacy with another who does not even know they exist. Horton and Wohl studied this phenomenon with television personalities. Today, it has metastasized. The average Instagram user follows roughly 30 to 50 accounts that they emotionally consider friends, but who would not recognize them on the street. Your brain processes these parasocial relationships using nearly the same neural circuitry as actual relationships. When your favorite influencer recommends a product, your brain registers it not as advertising. It registers it as a friend's advice. This is the engine of modern influencer economics. A 2021 Northwestern University study found that consumers were 4 to 7 times more likely to purchase products recommended by parasocial influencers than identical products advertised by traditional methods. The product is the same, the price is the same, The brain treats them differently because one feels like a friend. Now, multiply this. The average Instagram user is exposed to 60 to 200 implicit purchase recommendations per day from accounts they parasocially trust. Some are paid. Many are organic. The influencer simply living their lives in a way that creates aspiration. Either way, your brain is being trained daily that this is what people like you have, do, and want. Behavioral economists have a term for what this does to your finances. They call it the comparison tax. Unlike a real tax, you do not see it leave your account. It is hidden in the difference between what you would have spent if your reference point were your actual life, and what you spend because your reference point is the curated lives you scroll past every day. A 2020 study by the University of Bath estimated that average heavy social media users spend an additional 6 to 9% of their disposable income on purchases that would not occur without social media exposure. Over a typical career, this comparison tax adds up to between $200,000 and $600,000 in lost wealth. That is a house. That is retirement. That is generational change, spent in increments of $50 to keep up with strangers. The cruelest part of the comparison tax is that it does not announce itself. You do not see a charge labeled FOMO. You see a charge for sneakers, a vacation, a kitchen renovation, a lifestyle purchase. Each one feels like a personal choice. The aggregate is the algorithm. Let us now address the deeper question. Why does this work so reliably? Why can you not just see through it? Because of how the brain processes social information. The amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex, the parts of your brain that monitor social standing, evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to keep you alive in a tribe of 50 people. If you fell behind socially in such a tribe, you would lose access to mates, allies, and resources. The brain learned to monitor relative status with extreme vigilance, and it cannot tell the difference between your actual tribe and a curated digital one. Instagram is not pushing your buttons, it is pushing your DNA. Influencer economics weaponize this further. The most successful influencers do not sell products directly. They sell aspirational identities. The bag is not a bag. It is membership in a tribe of women who have themselves figured out. The watch is not a watch. It is membership in a tribe of men who have arrived. You are not paying for the object. You are paying for the upgrade in your imagined social position, which is, of course, never delivered because the next post is already showing you a higher position. Dr. Cal Newport at Georgetown University, who wrote Digital Minimalism, calls this an attention extraction industry. The platforms are not free. You are paying with two currencies, your attention, which they sell to advertisers, and your contentment, which is the prerequisite for all the spending they trigger. The financial cost is downstream of the psychological cost. So how do you opt out without becoming a hermit? First, audit your comparison set. The single most effective intervention, according to Hunt's Pennsylvania research, is to unfollow or mute accounts that consistently make you feel financially inadequate. Not the funny accounts, not the educational ones, the ones that subtly but consistently establish that your life is missing something. A single-day audit can reduce comparison-driven spending by 25 to 35% within a month. Second, reintroduce friction. Behavioral economists have shown that friction is the single most powerful tool against impulsive consumption. Remove shopping apps from your phone, requiring you to use a browser. Disable saved payment methods, requiring you to type in your card. Set a 48-hour delay between adding to cart and purchasing. Each layer of friction reduces social media-driven purchases by 20 to 40% in controlled studies. Third, shrink the parasocial set deliberately. Choose 10 to 15 accounts that genuinely add value to your life, educational, creative, or emotionally supportive, and use the platform exclusively to engage with those. Treat the rest of the platform as it actually is, a randomized advertising delivery mechanism. Fourth, audit your spending against your timeline, a practical exercise from researcher Dr. Rachel Cruz. Once a month, look at your last 30 days of purchases over $50 and write next to each one whether you would have made that purchase if you had no social media exposure in the prior week. Most people are shocked to find that 30 to 50% of their discretionary spending traces directly to comparison or parasocial influence. Once you see it, the spell is partially broken. Here is the truth that platforms will never tell you. Social media is not free. It is the most expensive subscription you have, and the bill is paid in 2 installments. The lifetime cost of the things you bought because of it, and the lifetime contentment you traded to want them. The brain that has been trained to compare cannot fully unlearn comparison, but it can learn to direct comparison toward people, situations, and values that actually align with what you want. The algorithm wants your wallet. Your job is to redirect your brain to a comparison set that wants your peace. If this changed how you think about social media and spending, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every Tuesday and Friday, we break down the psychology behind your financial life. Next up, why tipping makes no economic sense, but your brain demands it anyway. The fascinating research on social norms versus market norms, why a 20% tip feels obvious and a 5% rebate feels insulting, and what tipping reveals about how we secretly value relationships over rationality. Link is on screen now.